It's sunny outside, but I chose to stay in front of my screen and to present you Venus protocol and how it interacts with channeling Oracle. Why? Because Venus protocol recently got affected by a channeling Oracle issue, and I wanted to show a bit how this protocol works, because I was not able to find on the internet a proper description of that. Uh, After the issue, Venus decided to pause this protocol for further investigation and to protect the user funds. It's going to be very technical, but you will see, I will make it accessible to everyone. So first, what is Venus protocol? It's a protocol of the finance decentralized, and it's hosted on a blockchain called Binance Smart Chain. We will have a look at the website venus.io. You launch the decentralized application, and so you arrive here. Um, so first, you can see here that we have a lot of different markets. Each line is a cryptocurrency or a token. There is BUSD, USDT. These are stable coins, meaning that we expect them to be pegged to the dollar. One BUSD should always be like one USD. Then, how on the blockchain you symbolize this? It's here. Yes, so on the Binance Smart Chain, the native token, how you pay the gas for your transaction, will be BNB or Binance Coin. And a token, it's more, it should respect a standard called ERC21, ERC20. Let's see an example of that. Up. Here is a GitHub of a very famous company doing secure smart contract, and we can see here the standard ERC20. So to make a cryptocurrency and to host it on the blockchain. You can see that an ERC20, so this is a Solidity programming language. And you can see that ERC20 has a total supply, a name, a symbol. Also, they have a number of decimal. And here you see different function. This is to get the balance of the given token, how to transfer it. And after you have other method. But to have a token on the Binance Smart Chain, you have to respect all these different functions. So each one of these, it's a different smart contract on the blockchain. After that, yes, on Venus protocol, you can deposit some cryptocurrency, and then you can borrow other cryptocurrency based on what you deposited. It will be used as a collateral. How to access a different, a given token code on the blockchain. So we can see its code. For that, so this is my code in Python, but you can see that a contract has an address. And here, these are all the tokens available on Venus. And this is, for example, the address of the token SXP. But let's see BUSD because we saw it before. Hop, you take that, that address, you go on BSC scan, and I'm doing everything not in the correct order, so it's a catastrophe. Okay, here you arrive on BSC scan, which is the explorer of the Binance Smart Chain, and you can see here that we are seeing the contract of BUSD. Then you go to contract and you can interact with the contract. First, this is the code. You can see that you have symbol, name, get owner, balance off. So this, except the get owner, these are the functions that you should write to deploy a token with the ERC20 standard. Why it's called BEP20 is because on Binance Smart Chain, it's not exactly they renamed it, but actually it's like ERC, and ERC is for Ethereum standard on the Ethereum blockchain. Then you can interact with the contract. Here you see some data, but you cannot modify them. So this is the name of the token, the number of decimal. Then you can see the total supply, but you have to consider it with the decimal. So you take it, you take 18 decimal, and then you should be able to see the total supply, but I'm not sure about, yes, like that. And this is the, we get the same amount. Okay, now, so Venus has two different kind of token. First, like BUSD, is a ERC20 token normal, and then there is a wrapped version of that token that will represent a proof that you deposited a given amount of token on Venus. And based on your balance of V tokens, you will be able to borrow some tokens. So as an example, in my code, you can see that for BUSD, I have two addresses. The first, this is the BUSD address, and this is the address of the V token or VBUSD. We can go on the Explorer, and now we will access the code of the VBUSD. Okay, we go in the contract. We go then on the proxy. I will explain here then the difference between the proxy and the implementation. Okay, and you can see here, so these are the attributes of the V token for BUSD. You can see that the number of decimal, exchange rate, it means for one V token, how many, it corresponds to how many underlying token. For instance, one VBUSD, it will give you back that amount of BUSD. And this is the number of BUSD available on the VBUSD contract. Okay, and this is the total number of BUSD that is currently borrowed in the protocol. Now we continue. Okay, VToken code in Blockchain Explorer, Code Explorer. Yes, for that. Okay. And I will talk about the architecture of smart contracts of Venus. So the main thing and the main contract of Venus is the unit roller. We will go to the Explorer. Okay. You can see the contract, and basically this is a proxy because you want to make a Venus protocol upgradable. And that's why the unitroller has always the same address, but it stores the address of another contract that could be changed. That's what we see here. This is the code of the proxy, and we see the controller implementation. For the moment, it's this one. But soon, Venus protocol will change the protocol, the controller, and this address will change. Now we can go as here. So now we will look at the data stored on the current controller, but via the address of the unit roller. Here it's interesting. You can see all the markets. So one market is a one ERC20 token. Get account liquid. Okay. So all these addresses are the V tokens currently on Venus. You have also other things. Liquidation incentive Mentissa, it means how many a liquidator will get if they liquidate someone. And you delete 18 decimals, and what you see is that the liquidator will get 110% of what they repay. And this is Oracle. We'll talk about it later. And that's it. Okay, so then you can see here the code of the controller. I think it's this one. Yes, but we will go now to see the code and how we can mint, how we can redeem, borrow, repay, and liquidate. These are the operation that we can do here, but I won't connect my my wallet. So let's see. We will go to one. We'll go to one V token. I don't know which one. Let's take this one. This one is VUSDC for the stablecoin USDC. Okay. We go to contract. We go to the code and the token interface. It will be here. Up the read contract code. Okay. So where is the okay. VBEP20. So here you see the mint. Okay, it's not this one. This is a kind of interface, but we want the V token code. And on the V token code, you can see different functions: transfer token, transfer from. I think it's a bit below the number of cash current, the number of underlying token currently on the contract. Mint. Okay. So when someone wants to mint, oh no, it's not this one. First, they call the mint function of the VBEP20, and then it will call the specific behavior of VToken, so the internal mint. Okay. So when you redeem, when you mint, it's when you deposit some ERC20 token, and when you redeem, it's when you take it back. When you borrow, is to borrow ERC20, and repay borrow, it's when you give it back. And I think there is also the liquidate borrow, and that's this function that you have to call when you want to liquidate someone, saying who you will liquidate, how many amounts, and what is the V token that you want to seize. Meaning I liquidate for BUSD and I want as a reward, let's say Ethereum. Okay. Where were we? The Oracle. Okay, special case of BNB. Yes. So all the V tokens on Venus are using this interface, but the behavior is either a V token or either a specific version, but only for BNB, and the wrapped version of BNB. Why? I will go to the code of VBNB. So it's this one. Up. And you will see that when you deposit and when you liquidate, it's a bit different because you will deposit with your with BNB, not with the ERC20 version of the BNB. Let's see here. Redeem. Okay. Like this. So when this is the contract VBNB, which is a V token, and you can see that the mint function has been modified, and message value, it means when you from a web browser you send some BNB to the blockchain, it will go with message.value. So here you can see that it calls mint internal with the number that has been sent. So, but this is only for BNB. For all the other BUSD, USDC, you will use normal standard version of mint redeem. And we can see also liquidate borrow is different. Yes. So here you can see that you don't have the amount because the amount is via the message. That was the difference between BNB and VBNB. Okay. Luna case. Okay. Now we can see on Debank, which is a very nice website, the case of a user that has profited, I don't know how to say it, from the Oracle problem. We don't see here the Venus protocol. Why? Because they don't have enough money, but if you go here, protocol with small deposit are not displayed, show all. And now we can see in Venus the lending. So here are all the ERC20 token deposited by that person. And all what they borrowed. What you can see is that they don't have anything left. But what they borrowed is, let's say, almost 200,000 of USD. It means that the liquidator won't repay this because they won't have anything to get back. That's what we call bad debt. And that account is a very good example of such situation. How to get info from Venus account. Okay, yes. Now, if you want to interact with Venus, either you go via the application, so via this, but also they made a smart contract called Lens contract, where they made some consolidation of some data. We will go there always via the Explorer. Hop. And we will have a look at what we can see. So this is to get for a given account how many borrowed assets and how many deposited assets he has. Also some stuff related to the governance. And then here you can see the price of a given V token that is used by Venus to calculate if you are currently liquidable or not. I didn't told about this. I didn't speak about this. So on Venus, imagine you deposit the equivalent of 1,000 USD. Maximum you can borrow, let's say 60%. It depends on the tokens, but 60% of that of what you deposited. So in this example of 1,000, you can borrow maximum 600. But if you deposit BUSD and if you borrow Ethereum and the price of Ethereum goes up to the moon, let's say, Venus will look at the price and they will say, okay, now you become liquidable, and some person with bots scanning the blockchain and the prices in real time will say, okay, that guy, I will liquidate him to get a reward. So they will liquidate and repay maximum half of the Ethereum to get the equivalent of what they liquidated in BUSD plus the 10% of reward. Yes, and that Lens contract, you can see the price of a given V token or of a set of V tokens. But so the advantage of that function is that you only call the smart contract once. But here you have to call the smart contract each time you want the price of one V token. We can see here the code. Hop. And we will see here I think it's oh, once again, it's a catastrophe. Get underlying. This. I'm sorry. It was a crash test. It's my first video. Get underlying. maybe because I am in full screen. I don't know. Okay, so it's not interesting. So I continue. So the lens contract made by Venus team is good, but for my liquidation activities, I consider that it's not enough and I could batch more information. That's why I made a homemade contract, and I will show you the code now. Okay, this is a contract I deployed on the BSC, and yes. So here in the contract, I have the address of the controller and the address of the oracle. What do I do here? Here I sent all the V tokens I want in the order I want the prices, and they will give me back all the prices. So this is what they are doing in the lens contract. But I can also here look for one user the deposited balances of all the V tokens, the borrowed balances of all the V tokens, and also the exchange rate for a V token with the underlying asset. Also here, it's this was added in my homemade contract, is to get the liquidable status for a set of users instead of only one user. And I think the next step, okay, how to see for a given user that is liquidable. So for this, you go on the controller. We will use that address to test. Where is the so to get back, we can go from here in the V token BNB, and I think you have a link to the controller. That's it. And now contract read as proxy, and you go to the get account liquidity. Up, you query, and this, it means, I think they have a problem. Because as now Venus is in pause, maybe this is an error. Let's say, no, let's see how we will see this here. So the first is the error, and the second is the amount of borrow get account liquidity. Borrow limits, liquidable amounts USD. Yes, okay. So the first number means that it's an error. The second number means that you are not liquidable. You are not liquidable if the second number is different of 0. But if the third number is different of 0, it means that the user is liquidable. And it's not possible to have both the second and the third value different of 0. Only one will be different of 0. Or if the account has no balance on Venus, it will be 0 and 0. Okay, now how the governance works. The governance of Venus protocol works using VIP, Venus Improvement Proposals. You can see here the governance proposals with the statute. Now it's this one that is active. You can vote on this one, but you can see that indeed it's related to some actions and some functions that will be executed on chain. So first, this VIP 60 is to unpause the protocol, and also they want to modify, they will modify the controller length because they will modify also the controller. So the length contract will have to change. And they will change also the VAI unit roller for the VAI token. But what they are doing for the new controller, I think, yes, what I showed you about the liquidation, now it will be better because before, if you want to liquidate someone, you have to interact with the specific V token. It's in the code of the V token. But now the liquidation will be done at the level of the controller. So you don't have to call the liquidate function on a specific V token. It will be way better. And also the reward will change, because now if you liquidate someone, you get 10% reward, and the protocol has nothing. And with the new VIP, the reward will be separated. 5% will be given to the liquidator, and 5% will be transferred to the reserves of the protocol and shared with XVS holders. Now, we talked about Venus. Let's talk about Chainlink. It's almost done, almost finished, even if I don't know what will be the duration of that video. Chainlink is a way to obtain trustable data of chain, and in our case, real-time prices for Venus assets. So it works using aggregator feeds, meaning that Venus is calling another contract, which is an aggregator, and that aggregator is making the average of a lot of different price source. So this way, the price cannot be manipulated by someone who wants to make some attack on the protocol. And as the blockchain, that source of information is decentralized. Okay, so I found that wonderful link where someone wanted to know how to get all the historical prices for a given chaining price using JavaScript. We will do it on chain and also with Python. But they were saying that an aggregator, the aggregator is basically a proxy that is using an aggregator that is using a lot of different prices. And to see that the proxy has different phases, meaning the different aggregators, because sometimes an aggregator will become obsolete, and so they will change the aggregator. And then inside the aggregator, round ID, it means another value of price. So if you have 10 prices in 1 hour, let's say, you will have 10 rounds. Okay, but yes, and that answer, if you are interested, is very interesting. But now we will explore from the init roller to the Luna feed. Okay. Once again, the unit roller, it's the core thing of Venus. I think, where is the Oracle? Okay, we have to come back and to go to the unit roller. Okay, a contract, read as proxy, and we will go way below, way down to see the Oracle address. Where is the Oracle address? Okay, here. Now we'll see that they have two contracts. We are still on the Venus side. The Venus Chainlink Oracle, which is a contract, and it's a price oracle. Price oracle, it's only one function, that is get underlying price. But here, okay, get underlying price is called. What do we see? We see that first, if the V token name is VBNB, we use Chainlink price, but here we don't want VAI XVS. Here it's our case for all the other prices, and specifically for the Luna price, because that's why we are making this video today. Get price, it's here. And you see that we are using get Chainlink price, get feed of my symbol. Get Chainlink price, okay. It takes a feed, and it takes the last answer or the last price of that feed. There is one feed per contract, per V token. So now in read contract, we go to get feed, and you have to put the symbol. We will put Luna, and they will give us the address of the aggregator proxy. Up, we go here. We see that they modified it recently, 20 years ago, 20 hours ago, with the zero feed. Okay, and what is zero feed? The last test answer is always zero. Why? Because when Venus will unpause its protocol, they don't want people to be liquidated on Luna due to Luna price. So for the moment, they put a zero feed. But when the problem occurred, the proxy was not that zero feed. It was okay. Up, this one. This one, and you can see on that proxy it's Luna USD, and the price has 8 decimals. This is the aggregator. But before we will look at the phase. Okay, phase 2. It means that in the past we had 2 other aggregators. Let's see the address of the first. By default, when you create the contract, I guess it's the address 0, meaning nothing, meaning no contract. Then the first aggregator that was linked to that proxy was this one, so the address ends with EE, and the second one was this one. The problem on Venus protocol occurred when Chainlink modified the first aggregator and updated it to the second one. We will see it in the next step. And also we can see the code of this. I will show it to you. Contract. So here you can see the problem that happened and caused that problem. So latest round, it means that that aggregator gave that number of different prices. And for a given price, you can go to get round data. I think it's this one. So the first one was this, and this is received by the proxy aggregator that sends it to Venus Oracle. You have the answer, and you have it's a timestamp, meaning when the price has been published, and then it's updated by number 2. Then it's updated by number 3, and you see that the date increase. What is important here? What is important is are these two fields, min answer and max answer. So this was the first aggregator, and you can see that they had a min answer of, with a decimal, I think this means 0.1 USD, and maximum 2, 4, 6, 8. I think it's maximum $10,000 for the Luna. And if the price of Luna went outside of this limit, and that's what occurred, there was a problem. I don't know how they react by code. We could check, but not now. But what they did is, at one moment, it reached that min answer, and they modified it with a new contract, a new aggregator. It's this one, query 2. Up. And here you can see that the min ID, max answer, maybe they modified it a bit, but the min answer now is $0. Okay, issue with Luna, price feed, decimal min max. Okay, it's done. Now we will use web3.py and the timestamps to see exactly what were the values before and after the incident. Okay, it's almost done. Congratulations to people that are still here with me, and I hope the sound is good. If not, I may, I don't know, I will cry. Okay, YouTube demo. What do I do here? I create a provider for BSC, so it's a RPC node to get some data. Then the number of decimal for the Oracle price. This is to display the date in a correct and decent format. The first aggregator, it's this address ending with EE. Second aggregator. First, I will display the last 10 prices of the first aggregator, and then the first 10 prices of the second aggregator. How do I do that? With web3.py, you have to instantiate a contract giving the address of that contract, which is for the first aggregator and this one, and the ABI. What is the ABI? It's the interface telling to the RPC node, no, to web3.py, what is available in your contract. And you can see it's a bit difficult, but I can make another video about this. That's how web3.py will know which functions can be called and what will be the parameters of these functions. Okay, we look here. We call the function latest round for the first contract aggregator. And for the last 10, we will get the data. That function returns these parameters. So 5 fields. First, the round ID, the price with a decimal, when it was published, and this one is not important. And I will display also the, yes, the, oh, I start to be tired. The link, not the link, the difference and the separation between the two aggregators. It's almost done. Okay, I launch it. What do we have here? So the first aggregator, we had this number of prices. These are the dates. I think it's with UTC. And these are the last one. You can see that the price goes slowly to 0.1. And at one moment, we can guess that it arrives to 0.1. I don't know if it was automatic or manual, but Chainlinks modified the first aggregator with the other aggregator that now is able to provide a price that is below 0.1 USD. And between the two, it was 2 p.m. and here it was 7 p.m. So 5 hours occurred when Venus has no price updates. And that's in that moment where I guess our friend, this one, was lucky, or maybe he knew what he was doing, but he deposited a given amount of Luna that was worth way more than its exact value at that moment, and was able to borrow a lot of different USD token. Then they used PancakeSwap to buy back Luna, to deposit it, and they did a loop until Venus figured it out and decided to post the protocol, which was a very good thing. And I congratulate Venus for that reaction. Now we won't do this because it's not interesting. Well, let's do it quickly. Okay. So at that exact moment, when was it? The 12th at between 2 and 7. Okay, yes. You can see here that it goes... oh no, it was way before. Okay, it's not interesting. Now, okay. So my opinion is that Chainlink, we thought that it was trustable. On their website, they say, okay, if you use our price oracles, you have to mitigate the risk that an error occurs on our side. So please do these measures. I'm not sure that Venus was doing it, and also Bliss Finance was not properly doing it. Bliss Finance is another protocol on Avalanche, where they were not able, like Venus, to detect the problem, and all the funds were drained, all the funds of user. So for the future, I guess that a protocol using Venus should implement some alerts or some monitoring with maybe they could use different oracle solutions like Chainlink and also Bend protocol, or to use the feed from Binance and to check if between two measures the price difference is not higher than I don't know, 2%, and also to check if the price is always the same or not, because this could also mean that the price is not updated anymore. And more broadly, I would say that there is a problem of for the audits of smart contracts and blockchain projects, because it's very expensive, and usually people are making audit and are limiting the scope of the audit to some a limited number of smart contracts. The problem is the smart contract is one thing, but the second thing is how the team on the operational level will make sure that no problem occur, how they monitor it, how they got some alert that something is going wrong, and how they could react quickly, because in that case, the detection was manual. Someone from the community detected the problem, and yes, maybe the governance of blockchain protocols that are holding more than $1 billion, maybe they should also have an audit at the IT governance level, more than only a limited number of smart contracts. It will be more expensive, but the trade-off with the risk will be better. Thank you very much, people that are still here. And it was my first video. I'm sure it's a total disaster. But if you have some feedbacks, negative, positive, I'm sure they will be all negative. Please tell them in the comments, and I will do better next time based on this feedback. Thank you, and take care. Bye-bye.